Chris hit us up. He said, why do people just assume Ohio State can win a national title every year? My answer is because they can win a national title every year.
Lay hold of it. You lay hold of it. And when that thing tells you to quit, you look at it in his eye and say, I ain't going nowhere. I will break you before you break me. You will not defeat me. You will not destroy me. Some of you are so ignorant. You've been through so much hell. You gonna quit now? You should have quit 10 years ago. You should have been quit. You don't quit now. It's the 10th round. You got 2 more to go. And when you get to success, it's not about skill. When you get to a certain level of success, it's about stamina. It's about stamina. It's about you won't break me. You can't take me. It's too late now. It's too late. You should have broke me a long time ago. I'm unbreakable now. The only chance at this point is you gotta kill me. And you gotta kill me now. And then when you kill me, my legacy will live.
Hey everyone, and welcome into the Voice of College Football Ohio State channel Oregon postgame show. That was a rather difficult game to soak in, but we are here to talk about it all. You got me, JR's rankings over on Twitter, our guy 216_wildboy, Mike over on Twitter as well. Mike, this is a tough one to swallow, man. How you feeling?
Yeah, it definitely was a tough one to swallow, man. But hey. The Oregon Ducks got it done, found ways not to make mistakes, and they capitalized on all of the Buckeyes' mistakes. So, hey,
that they did. What it is. That they did. I thought there for a little bit the game was going to come down to a field goal, and we'd be relying on Jaden Fielding again, and then freshman mistake by Jeremiah Smith. As great as he is, and as talented as he is, made a mistake in that one, and you could argue that maybe it shouldn't have been a call, but at the end of the day, they called it. It is what it is. I'm not really sure there's much else you can do. So we got a lot of people in the chat. I always feel like there's more people in the chat after a loss than there is a win. So it's good for our numbers, I guess, but not good for any of our fan base because we don't want to see the L. Mike, was the Jeremiah Smith offensive pass interference there at the end of the game, was that the biggest factor that led to this loss? What are your thoughts?
No, it's not the biggest factor. Here's the thing. Like I told everybody, and I've been telling everybody for weeks, you're going to have a true freshman out there, and he's going to make mistakes. And, I mean, there was other mistakes and things like, and also him sometimes not understanding field awareness as well. So, I mean, you're going to have freshman mistakes, but I don't really think that it can all be put on just the offense either.
Yeah, no, it shouldn't be just on the offense. The defense definitely had their issues in this game. We got a number of people pointing out the defensive mistakes. I have a conundrum with the defense there, Mike, because I do blame a large part of this on Denzel Burke. Denzel Burke probably had his worst game of his career, and there's been some bad secondary games for Ohio State these past few years, and he had his worst game of his career by far, if you ask me. Yep. But at the same time, the defense, as much as the run defense did struggle with, or the D-line did struggle with pass rush, and JT Tuimoloau didn't, set the contain on the quarterback there with that big long run, they did stop the Oregon Ducks within the 5-yard line once for a turnover on downs, and then they also stopped them for a field goal. Now, I know there's no moral victories, but you have to at least be impressed with that from the defense. What do you think, Mike?
I mean, yeah, but I feel like it could have not got to that point. I think that there's also some issues in practice. One of the things is our defensive coordinator does not like to tackle in practice, and there was multiple missed tackles. And also the thing, when you're tackling in practice and things like that, you have a different physicality to you when you're playing in those games. And what I felt like I saw was Oregon wanted it more. People was talking about their little DBs and everything, but them guys was wanting it more. I mean, you just seen them out there flying to the ball, playing physical. And here's the thing. Also, when you talk about the offense as well, you know, what I've been very worried about was you're throwing short passes, hoping that your wide receivers get yak. And I don't think that you can always, against good defenses like Oregon, what were they doing? Making those tackles and stopping us in space. They was making great open field tackles.
Yeah, they were. They were. And I think that, the thought was we're going to be able to outblock them, just get the ball out there and block those guys and get out in space. And our guys are too quick for them to tackle, and they're too strong for them to tackle. But at the end of the day, Emeka Ibuka was not the fastest player on the field, and Jeremiah Smith, as big and as strong as he was, that proved to be the difference there at the end. That, like I was telling you before we started, I didn't feel like he pushed off that hard, but just the fact that he is so much bigger than the other guy, and there could have been some embellishment there at the end as well, right? I mean, I feel like that's kind of a questionable time to do that, but still. But at the end of the day, the biggest thing is Will Howard taking the ball, trying to run. I don't know if he thought there was 10 seconds left instead of 6. I don't know what in the world that they were thinking with the play clock continuing to, or not even the play clock, the game clock continuing to run there after the Jeremiah Smith issue. At the end of the day, I can't blame it all on the defense or blame it all on Jeremiah Smith or blame it all on Will Howard, because at the end of the day, it seemed like there at the end of the game, everybody made mistakes.
Yeah, and I mean, here's the thing. You're going to have mistakes, but when you're supposed to have one of the best secondaries in the country, and then, the leader on your defense is getting cooked out there over and over. And I just remember a time where, in 2014, yeah, he wasn't even a senior. I want to say he was probably like a sophomore at the time, like Garyon Conley, but he just wasn't having the best of games. And we just went with someone else who would have been a more high hand, right? It happens. Sometimes you just don't have those games. And it's like, okay, you give up at 1. That's understandable. You give up 2. Okay, I'm alarmed. But it wasn't just that. It was like Oregon was like, hey, we need this chunk play. Let's attack this guy. Hey, we need to get in field goal range. Let's attack this guy. And it's like they're pointing it out. Why don't we make that type of personnel change? Because we know that we have other talented guys there.
Yeah. Yeah, I think at the end of the day, Ohio State was the more efficient team, and Ohio State was moving the ball better, more consistently, but Oregon was getting those big plays, and that was one of my keys of the game was Ohio State couldn't allow the big plays, and they hadn't allowed the big plays all season long, but in this one, if you would have made Oregon try to drive down the field, first, second, third down, every single drive, like you would have won the game. But the fact that Denzel Burke got cooked multiple times, the fact that JT Tuimoloau didn't keep contained, and I know I'm pointing those guys out. There's other people as well, but still, like, you allowed the big plays, and that's what I thought the defense was fixed from last year. That's what I thought I could, kind of rest my head on, is like, okay, they're not going to give up the big plays, but that didn't happen here.
Yeah, definitely didn't happen here, and and that was the whole thing. See, I have been talking, over on the Best Damn Media platform. If people follow me, some people follow me that's watching, they know I have talked about this. Like, I feel on the defensive side of the ball from 2022, I felt like we made an overcorrection, right? Because they were talking about us giving up the explosive plays. But I felt like we had more guys in the secondary that were better this year, where we could still run that type of, defense. And we just haven't been doing that. And I felt like there were times we could have got more pressure. That's another thing that we're not talking about. Lathan Ransom this week was talking about, hey, if we get our if we're able to hold our guys for at least 4 seconds, right? We know our front 4 is going to get home. That did not happen a lot. Yep. He was able to sit there, feel a little bit comfortable. And I also thought that they would move the pocket a bit more, but they really didn't have to.
Yeah, I thought this would be a game where Ty Hamilton and Tyleek Williams would get some more pressure on the quarterback, but they did not. And I think that, it's kind of goes a little unnoticed because of the big plays that happen in other areas. But when you can't get pressure on the quarterback with just your defensive line, your secondary is going to be in tough situations like we saw them be in multiple times because they were trying to play man and they were trying to stop guys all by themselves. And so you're having to bring down not only in passing or to get pass rush and stuff like that, but also I didn't think the linebackers played a very good game here, Mike. I felt like the linebackers and the run defense were getting exposed a number of times. And so you had to bring down Lathan Ransom and Caleb Downs into the box, which you shouldn't have to do. Derek Harmon was completely tearing apart the interior of our offensive line. That's what I thought Tyleek Williams was supposed to do. That's what I thought I was going to trust that Tyleek Williams could do, but he couldn't. Hats off to Oregon's interior, their defensive line. I called them questionable earlier in the week, and turns out they were possibly the least questionable part about this offense because they completely neutralized Tyleek Williams and Ty Hamilton, two guys that you had to have play well if you were going to win this game, and they just didn't.
Yeah, and then also, I think another thing that hurt us was Josh Simmons going down. Did that end up limiting the playbook? You saw that they were able to get a little bit more pressure and things on Will. I wonder if that kind of hurt the O-line's confidence. I thought they were going to be able to kind of run the ball a little bit more. Was kind of shocked Chip Kelly came out throwing the ball a lot.
I was too. I wasn't too shocked with what he was doing throwing the ball because I do think he was trying to expose the size advantage they had on the outside with the wide receivers. There was, a number of screens and stuff like that. And I mean, let's talk about the Judkins fumble at the beginning of the game. That was killer. I mean,
Yeah,
you were
facts.
you had some momentum on offense. You felt like you could drive the ball or move the ball down the field, and then Derek Harmon gets back there, just completely tears the ball out of Quinshon Judkins' hands. Like, I mean, Judkins didn't have a good day, but even an average day with that happening to you, I mean, like, what are we doing here? We talking about having two of the best running backs in the nation. Travion Henderson played well, but Quinshon Judkins, dude, next time you play Oregon, you're gonna have to come out and play better than that because other than maybe what was it, one goal line touchdown, like it's just not enough to win these big top 3 matchup games.
Yeah, I mean, and we came out there on Buckeye time, man, and it's just one thing that I was worried about was being disciplined. I was on the Oregon show. They had me on the Voice of College Football, and that was something that I was worried about was like the penalties. And then I was also worried about like if we get behind the chains, I just feel like our offense isn't one of those offenses that is used to being behind the chains or, can facilitate that. Like when you have a CJ Stroud, you don't worry about that because you know about his arm talent. Same thing with Justin Fields. And it's just like we don't really have that right now. But Will was not bad. I thought if we lost this game, it would be, on just Will Howard. That's not what happened. I mean, everybody makes mistakes, and Will, I can't put this on Will Howard, man. It was just it was a team effort. Yeah. All the mistakes that happened, team effort. Wide receivers making mistakes, quarterback make mistakes, O-line made mistakes, running back room made mistakes, DB room, like everybody, D-line, the whole team. So there will be no player at a game, no defensive players, no Buckeye leaves for these Buckeyes at all. Yeah, it just is what it is.
Yeah, you can't pin this one on Will Howard. You can definitely say that, running the ball toward the middle of the field like that was questionable at the end. But I mean, if you watch the replay, unless the play clock in the stadium was different than the play clock on the TV, he got down and they were calling timeout. Now, I'm not making any excuses because the refs do what they do, and I never really blame the refs for anything because they're gonna make bad decisions. We know refs suck. It's just it is what it is. But at the end of the day, like if I'm looking at that objectively, he was down and he was calling timeout, so he probably should have had it. Like I said, could have been different play clock in the stadium, but other than that, I mean, it really was nothing to do with Will Howard's play. The biggest issues for Will Howard that game was, number one, the sliding and calling timeout. Maybe don't put that in the referee's hands. And then number two,
Right.
the fumbled snap was the other one, where I felt
Yeah.
like they could have had a long drive there, went down the field. If they would have scored a touchdown and made that a long, 7, 8, 9 minute long drive, you'd have had the win. But Will Howard fumbles the snap there on third down. Don't know if they would have got it, but he fumbles it, and that killed that drive real fast, and you don't have anything to do there. So we got a super chat there. Mike, you want to bring that up?
Yep, I got you.
Could we speak on the play of Denzel Burke? Sorry if you talked about it already. We did talk about it already, but we didn't really go super in depth. Mike, there's a lot of people in the chat saying that Jermaine Matthews should have got some time in this game. I felt like Hancock had a pretty good game for the most part. I felt like Igmanosin had a pretty good game for the most part. Denzel Burke was definitely the fish out there that they were continuing to attack. And when you have a fish, you just keep going after him. Now, in the second half, his coverage was better, I felt like, but he still had trouble tackling. And so, you can have a little bit better coverage after giving up 100+ yards, but if you can't tackle, I don't know if there's much reason to have you out there.
Yeah, I mean, but that comes down to practicing tackling, we used to have DBs who could come downhill and didn't have to set their feet. They knew how to strike and go ahead and get that. And you just saw, like, even Oregon's wide receivers were able to fight for extra yards multiple times. And I mean, I'm shocked what happened to Burke. Just continuously getting beat like that. I understand, it happening once, but it shouldn't happen twice. And like you were saying in the chat, I thought Jermaine Matthews would get out there too. I think that we should have saw that. I think we needed a big play from our defense, and we didn't get that. We didn't cause any turnovers, to be honest. I say the refs gave us a blessing in the beginning, because that was really an interception to me. Ball never hit the ground. And so the refs helped us out in the beginning, but they definitely weren't helping us out in the end. It is what it is. But that's why I always say you don't leave the game in the refs' hands. But I mean, just one player giving up, multiple explosive plays and giving up 14 points. And here's another thing. Did you see? I think they settled for the field goal, but they had a wide receiver open in the flat, and it looked like Hancock was pointing to Burke to go.
Yep.
And Burke didn't go. I mean, I don't know what
they ran the pick play. They ran the pick play to perfection there, man.
Yeah, and I mean, my whole thing is I don't know what the defensive play call or what it was, if Hancock was supposed to go or if they were supposed to switch, but I mean, thank God it was a lefty quarterback. Like I even told my friends, I'm like, thank God that was a lefty quarterback who just was focused on his, the left side and didn't look over right. So,
yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's a tough play for your lefty quarterback to try and go across his body there and look for the guy. He was wide open. So, I mean, even if he took a little bit of extra time, he was going to get it there. So, thankful that he missed him there. But at the end of the day, Dylan Gabriel didn't throw to that right side of the field. I put out his passing chart earlier in the week, and he did not throw to the right side of the field all that often. So when you see Evan Stewart just completely burning Denzel Burke onto that 20+ yard right side of the field, like, I mean, he's literally not even thrown there all season long. I think he had 0 passes to that top right corner all season long, but he has 2 passes tonight on Denzel Burke. Like, I get it. He's a captain. I get it. Like, Jim Knowles trusts him, but at a certain point, like, what are we doing if this defense doesn't hold people accountable? I remember the days when Josh Proctor, missed a tackle early on in the Notre Dame game. Man, we didn't see him for 5 more weeks. Like, he was out for a long time. But you got Denzel Burke missing tackles. You got Denzel Burke giving up 2 big, long plays. One of them was for a touchdown. Like, and he gets to continue to stay in there, continue to play. I mean, I'm not advocating for anybody to be mad, but, like, if I was Jermaine Matthews Jr., I'd be like, what are we doing? What else do I have to do to get into the field?
I mean, you kind of been seeing Jermaine Matthews out there, posting, sending subliminal messages, and then deleting them and things like that.
Yeah.
And to be honest, it does worry you when you know he has the makeup speed. There was times like even one of the passes that got past Denzel Burke, like he had makeups. Like Burke didn't have makeup speed, but we know Maine has breakup speed. Like he could have probably broke the ball up or something like that. I mean, it's just, and even the one where Burke was the first one that he gave up. And it's like he wasn't trying to make the tackle. He was going for the ball the whole time. And it's like you just gave up an explosive play, bruh. Get him on the ground.
Yeah.
Swing him out of bounds.
That's one of those ones where if he gets the fumble, you're like, oh my gosh, he got the fumble. Like that was a really stupid decision, but you got it. And if he doesn't get the fumble, you're like, man, what in the world? Get him down, you know? Like it's one of those ones where he was gambling and would have looked like a really cool play if he got the fumble, but he didn't. So I mean, shout out to Evan Stewart. Like that was a great job by him. He did an awesome job with getting by Denzel Burke and making the plays each time. So I can't even like say anything bad about Oregon after this game. I just felt like Oregon played really well and they took advantage of the opportunities. One of those big opportunities was early in the game. I mean, Mike, did you think that onside kick, like, do you think that was on purpose? Did you think that was accident? I felt like it was on purpose with the way Dan Lanning was reacting. What do you think?
Yeah, I actually caught it.
Okay.
I called it. I said, watch out for the onside kick. And that's exactly what happened. And I mean, it was a lot of stuff, man, in that game. I was calling. Seeing, I just don't understand how like our defense wasn't seeing it. Another thing, we got out rushed in this game. Another game. Every time we lose a game, we get out rushed. I will say that this is probably the first time we rushed for, I think, over 100 yards, but we didn't have a 100-yard rusher. I don't know if the injury rumors is true about Judkins or whatever. That's why maybe he's not covering the ball up with his right hand or something. But he didn't really have a good game. You know, I think he only averaged like maybe 2 yards a carry, maybe like 2.1 yards, even though he had the touchdown. And then I thought also that in times like Travion Henderson, Trey, you're a running back. Stop acting like a wide receiver and get north-south, bro. Like, use your pad levels, man. Because the one play where I know he had got the D tackle off of him, Harmon, he got him off of him, and I felt like he could have just went north and got the first down, and he didn't do that. So,
yeah, I felt like Trevion reverted back to his old self a little bit where, he had that big run. What was it, like a 70-yard run? Or no, it was like 70 yards total on that drive with like 2 runs or something in that second or third drive of the game. And it almost felt like he was like, oh, yeah, I got to have these big runs. And so he's waiting back there. He's trying to get the perfect hole and hit it and then go for it. It's like, I mean, don't get me wrong, Trevion didn't play bad, and there were certainly times where Trevion was getting hit in the backfield that I feel like it's like, what are you gonna do? Like he's doing his best out here. The moment where Will Howard was kind of stuck in the backfield and the pressure was all around him, he flipped the ball to Trevion, and Trevion got 3 yards out of it. I mean, that was a good play by Trevion, but you're exactly right. It's you have to hit the hole, you have to go for it, and if you get 2 yards, guess what? That's better than no yards. So
yeah.
Definitely frustrating.
Yeah, it's just awareness. Like, you don't need to make the big play. You don't need to, make the wide receiver moves. You need to get up north and get this first down because it's a critical drive, man. Yeah. And I honestly feel like the awareness was lacking from some of our key guys out there. And I know, like I said, that was one thing about JJ. We've seen it, multiple times this season where, his field awareness isn't there. And I felt like a couple times, like he could have had better leverage or, putting the DB in a certain situation than what he did so that he could have a better leverage on the ball instead of getting himself pushed out of bounds and things like that. But those are things that's going to come with time. I want to say shout out to Emeka Egbuka. He was out there cooking, and JJ did make plays. He made plays. I felt like Will Howard had threw a dot in between to JJ, and I thought JJ was probably going to get tackled. What do you do? Go and run it, I think, for a first or get yardage on it. So,
Yeah. Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. I did feel like they went to G Scott more in this game than we had seen. That was kind of a nice little surprise there at the beginning of the game that he was getting open over the middle of the field. I would have liked to see them expose the middle of the field a little bit more. It seemed like they didn't really want to go there. I don't think that Oregon has the best coverage linebackers in the world, so I definitely felt like that was something they could have emphasized a little bit more. I was concerned they weren't going to go to it anymore after the Will Kazmarek thing, but I don't think we saw Will Kazmarek after that. At least I didn't really see him in there.
I mean, to be honest, you have G Scott and you have Jelani Thurman, who I think are phenomenal athletes. When you want to throw the ball, that's who you want to get the ball like in their hands. Like I understand we brought Will here and everything, but if you're not holding up to the standard, let's stop forcing people on the field. Like that's one thing that I really have an issue with our program. Like play the best players, not just seniority sometimes. And but I think that we could have went to G Scott a lot more. Like if you want to go across the field, like I think we could have did that. You put Jelani in there a couple times and just had him block. Why don't we have him leaking out?
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah, I agree. I think that, Jelani, he was basically non-existent in this one. I don't even think he had a target, did he? Maybe one target, but didn't have any catches, didn't have any yards. So, you're utilizing Will Kazmarek, but you're not utilizing Jelani Thurman. That's a little strange in my mind, but Chip Kelly's the mad genius, so whatever. I guess he'll figure it out. I guess I'm having trouble with this, Mike. As I think through it more and more and more, like you always want to come out of these losses with somebody to blame. And it's easy to say, "Oh, it's Denzel Burke." And I think that's probably who in my mind I'm looking at as like this is the one to blame, but through all of this conversing, me and you, like I look at Chip Kelly and some of his play calling as well. I look at Jim Knowles and some of his play calling and say, what were you thinking there? I look at our defensive ends and what they were doing. JT had a better game than Jack Sawyer did tonight. I don't know where Jack Sawyer was for most of the game.
Did he get hurt?
I mean, he was in there at the end, so I didn't hardly see him in the third quarter, though. I don't know. Maybe I was just not looking for him. But.
No, because people were asking, like, did he get hurt? We barely saw him. I mean, he only had 2 tackles out there. None solo either. Caden Curry, for some reason, every time he gets out there, he's making plays somehow. But I mean, it's hard for me to blame Chip Kelly because, to be honest, I think he has the playbook and the plays to cook, but it's like you can only call things to Will Howard's strengths.
Yeah.
Right. And one thing that we have said, especially Cam at Best Damn Media has said is Will not being on time with his throws. Right. Yeah. And that, the last play of the game, like I was telling my wife, I'm like, has to have the ball out in 3 seconds. Has to have the ball out in 3. I counted down 1, 2, 3. He did not have the ball out. And I was like, I knew it was that. I mean, I knew it was there. Flat out. Like, I just knew it. So, and I mean, the one thing that we kept hearing from Ryan Day is experience. But my biggest worry coming into this season was having a quarterback who can drive the ball down the field and stress defenses out. Because do you feel like we really stress Oregon's defense out?
I do feel like on the outside, the corners, we're having a little bit of a hard time with the blocking, but ultimately at the end of the day, they got through it. So, I do think that this was probably the toughest game that their corners had coverage wise. But other than that, like, not really, because it was just kind of slow, methodical stuff down the field, right? I mean, it was just kind of throwing the ball to the outside, running the ball up the middle, the occasional read option and stuff like that there. Like, I mean, I feel like the time they were the most stressed out was in the red zone because they,
That's it.
Chip was working with house money whenever he was in there, and he was getting it done. But I do think their red zone touchdown scoring percentage did drop though, because I think they were on the 19-yard line when the penalty happened that took them back to the 24. So I do think when they got that field goal, I don't know, maybe I'm misremembering, but Brett brings up a good point right under that comment there that you brought up there, Mike. He says, why was there only 6 seconds on the clock for the final play? There was 10 seconds prior to the illegal substitution. How could 4 seconds run off soon as the ball is snapped? It's a penalty. I thought the same thing, Mike, and we kind of touched on it earlier. Again, I'm not going to blame the refs. I don't do that personally, but I think that probably is part of the reason why Will Howard ran. He probably thought there were 10 seconds when there were only 6, and in reality, I mean, there should have been 10 seconds. There's not a rule out there that says, oh, penalty happens on the field. Like, and they were even talking about it at that Notre Dame game, or not the Notre Dame game. What was it last year? There was a game where they had 12 men on the field and Ohio State had to play, but they were like, oh, if they would have accepted that, then the clock would have went back to regular. Like, there's no reason you let the play happen and then you accept the penalty, unless they just declined it, which I guess that's possible, but I don't know why in the world. Well, no, they can't do that because they would have lost the timeout. I don't know. What do you think, Mike?
I don't know. I'm over here trying to go back to like that last second play right now, like so I can see like those seconds, because I think when there was, I think a play happened before. Like, here's the 10-second play.
So the 10
It's
second
10
play,
seconds.
there were 12 men on the field. It was, like an out curl to Jeremiah Smith to the left. He got it, got down, and then there were 6 seconds left.
It's 10 seconds, and it's 3rd and 25.
Yeah.
And we run a play.
But they don't call the play dead at the beginning.
And the play was actually dead at 7 seconds, but they kept it at 6.
Yeah. Which, if you would have had 7 seconds, Will Howard would have been down in time. Still.
Oh. Yeah, and they kept it at 6 instead of putting it back up to 10. Hold on, no, they put it back up to 10.
I don't think they did. I think
Hold on.
6.
Right now it's up to 10. I'm looking. Hold on, let me go. Let me see.
Yeah, I think they switched it back to 6 because Will Howard was running.
It's 3rd and 25, and it shows 10 seconds. 1, 2, 3. We ran the play. Okay. The reason why I said 6 seconds was we ran that play to JJ. Remember? And the DB broke it up.
And that's when the illegal substitution happened.
No. That was after. No, this was after the illegal substitution.
How was it 3rd and 25 then? Because you got
JJ didn't catch the ball.
Yeah,
the DB broke it up.
Substitution should have put you up 5 more yards. So it should have been 3rd and 20.
True.
So I don't know. There's some funky stuff though going on with the clock at the end. I do think that the clock there after the offensive pass interference, that was correct. I mean, that was correct, and that was just an oversight by Will Howard and Ryan Day.
No, you're right. You're right. Yeah, okay, it's 3rd. Oh, the clock didn't go up. You're right. The clock did not go back up. It did not go back up to 10 seconds.
Yeah. So, I mean, Oregon got screwed with the call at the beginning of the game. We got screwed with the call at the end of the game. I'd argue it's worse to get screwed at the end than it is at the beginning, but you know what? Right. Both teams got screwed.
I kind of want to watch this in slow motion to watch the clock.
Yeah. So, I do think that was probably what was going through Will Howard's head. Is okay, I got 10 seconds. I'm going to drop back. If I don't have anything, the middle of that line is going to open. I'm going to run for it and get down at the 30 and call a timeout. He probably looked up at the time and was like, "Oh shit! Like, here we go. I got to get down right now."
Yeah,
you saw him when he looked up. When he looked up, he got down right away, and I think it was probably because he thought there was supposed to be 10 seconds left.
You see Ennis coming in like, we're down.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, they should have got a timeout there at the end. So, again, not blaming the refs. The
ball should have been out. He should have threw it to JJ coming across right there.
Yeah.
And then, boom. And then you get down.
Yeah.
But it was like, if he got down, his knee's down right there, and it's 1 second left. So
And Ennis is calling timeout right away, and he's yelling timeout. He might not be motioning it, but you could see he was yelling timeout as soon as he got.
And
his,
it's still 1 second on the clock, and
yeah.
So does the quarterback have to call the timeout, or
anybody can call timeout? It doesn't have to be the quarterback.
Okay, well then it's called it, but it is what it is. But that's why you don't leave the game in the hands of the refs, man.
I think, yeah. I was gonna say, if I take anything away from this, it's not Ohio State got screwed. It's that if we face Oregon again, I got no problem picking Ohio State because Ohio State
on neutral field,
yeah. I mean, if they play in the Big Ten championship again, I got no problem picking Ohio State to win that game. Now you got to get there first. You actually got to get there. You're gonna have to beat Penn State at Penn State. You're going to be Indiana, who I know everybody wants to talk about. Oh, their schedule's no good, but they're still undefeated.
We just seen somebody go on top on that. So
yeah,
Indiana been doing that. So
right, and then you got the team up north there at the end of the season. So and you can't overlook Nebraska. Nebraska's going to be a big game as well. That defense is legit that they got. I definitely think Dylan Raiola got some things to work out, but he's still super talented. So I mean, at the end of the day, like Ohio State, they can get there, but I don't know if they can get to the Big Ten championship game if they drop another game. You're going to have to win out at this point to sure get to the Big Ten championship.
Yeah.
Because I don't think there's anybody else on Indiana's schedule that can beat them except Nebraska. They're beating that team up north. The only other team on that schedule is Nebraska.
And here's the thing. Right now, you probably fall behind Penn State. So now you're behind Oregon and Penn State. You have to beat Penn State or Penn State's going, right? So, and you probably can't take another loss because what if Penn State still their only losses to you and then you lost 2, so that could put us out again. There's no divisions. It's the best teams. And Buckeyes got to win out, man. They got to, and they got to clean up a lot of things. But also, this is the first game that they had to work from behind or work in a close game. And how are you going to respond? How are you going to be better? I think that for all of the experience that we're supposed to have on this team and that Ryan Day, talked about, there was a lack of it, man. I mean, JTT, you cannot miss on that, bro. You cannot. And here's the thing. A lot of people want to blame Nose for this, and I cannot blame Nose. I felt like he had made the right calls, and guys were not executing at all. Like, it was the right call. How is he supposed to know Denzel Burke is going to get beat multiple times like that? How is he supposed to?
Burke was like 10 yards off the ball when he got beat the second time. I mean, he was like, he just got hit by Evan Stewart and he stood flat footed and Evan Stewart ran right by him. Like, that's not on Knowles. That's again, Lathan Ransom falling down. Like, that's not on Knowles.
We know that that's not technique that they're teaching. Like, he didn't use any of his technique. So what was that? Like, that's, to me, that's laziness. And the Oregon fans that all offseason was calling Denzel Bradbury. He going to have to wear that, and like I was saying about JT, go watch some Sam Hubbard film where he tackled both guys in the backfield. Like, Jim Knowles is counting on you to make the right play, And obviously you don't give, like, you're the defensive end. You don't give up your outside, bruh. Yeah. You don't give up your outside.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a bad situation there with that one, and there at the end they were just moving the ball down, and like you said, JT didn't keep contained. So I don't know what Knowles supposed to do about that one. So I still contend at the end of it all, it's on Burke. I mean, this game was lost because he let up the big plays. And you could argue there at the end there was a little bit of confusion on that one play, I guess, but still, like, you can't. He already got cooked once. You can't let Evan Stewart get behind you again. You just can't, man.
It was a lot he was getting cooked on. Like, it was one where Jim Knowles had Hancock guarding the flat, and who they just have a guy coming right in under Denzel Burke. Denzel Burke just lollygagging. Another thing somebody had pointed out, was it you who posted Jim knows why is there 4 guys sitting in the same zone?
They had 2 guys. They had 2 guys blitzing, and they had 4 guys at the line of scrimmage that were just like,
oh man,
that had to be confusion. As much crap as people give Jim Knowles, he's not calling a play with 4 guys in zone on the line of scrimmage. Like, I don't know what was going on there. But
yeah, I mean, and shout out to Oregon being loud. I know a lot of people was discounting that, but from the stories that I heard and everything, I couldn't discount it. I was saying it was going to be a loud game, and you were seeing it. It worked. That's how they got the false start penalties and things like that.
Yep.
I really hope, send prayers to Josh Simmons. Have you heard of it? How serious it is, or anything?
No, but it looked like a non-contact. It didn't look good.
Yeah, I was thinking
he was in contact with the other guy, but I mean,
the way his knee gave out, I was thinking that it was probably ACL. At best, it's an MCL sprain, but that's kind of hard because coming into this season, we didn't know if we had left tackle depth. And now Ohio State is definitely being tested. So.
We didn't talk much about the offensive line. So Taylor Chipola goes down early in the game. He does come back later on. You got Josh Simmons going down, I think, around the second quarter time in this one. Zim Mikulski comes back in. I was watching Zim Mikulski for a little bit after Josh Simmons went down. I felt like Zim Mikulski did okay. Maybe a little bit of different things you'd like to see happening in run blocking and stuff like that. But I didn't think the pass pro was bad. I thought that, for somebody coming in for somebody that's been looking like a first-round NFL draft pick left tackle, I mean, he's been getting the love from Dane Brugler. If you read any of his stuff for The Athletic, he's been getting all kinds of love from him. So, I mean, coming in for possible first-round left tackle and that kind of stuff. I mean, what'd you think of the offensive line in this one?
Yeah, I mean, I just felt like going into the second half with guys being hurt and stuff, I felt like the offensive line confidence, the chemistry was a little bit off. But I mean, like you said, guys coming up, they did okay. I mean, would like to see a little bit better, but I mean, what can you expect? It is what it is. I don't think that the offensive line, like, hurt us too much.
Yeah, they didn't lose the game for us.
Yeah, I wouldn't put too much on the offensive line. Like, are there plays or things that they could have done better? Yeah, especially in like run blocking, especially when Quinshawn was in. I don't know. It felt like it was weird. Like, Quinshawn was in, couldn't get much or anything, but I don't know if that was just the way the plays were being called or things like that. But hey.
Yeah, they've said that they don't alter the play calling when one of them's in. They just kind of go as can be, and they kind of let Coach Locke take care of who's in and who's out and stuff like that. It felt like, to me, the play calling was altered a little bit when they knew Quinshawn was in. I mean, probably the biggest issue with the offensive line was what was that play by Derek Harmon. And I mean, I'm not going to give the offensive line, nothing in that one, but that was just a spectacular play by Derek Harmon. I mean, I don't know what else you can say. Like, yeah, the offensive line definitely should have stood a little bit taller there, but to completely push back your guy and then to go and grab the ball from the running back and get down with it. Like, I mean, I would have liked to have Derek Harmon out of the portal at that time. Whatever NIL Oregon was paying him, I wish the foundation would have paid him, but credit to him. Man. He made a fantastic play. I don't know what else to say about it.
Yeah, man. I mean, like I said from the beginning, man, it just seemed like their guys were more physical and wanted it, bro. Like, I mean, I was watching at some points, you're watching Tyleek getting pushed back, watching Ty Hamilton getting pushed back. And I'm like, well, where's our push? Why we ain't pushing these guys back like that, So the running lanes weren't there open as often as they were before, but this was a big game that we wanted to see it in, and I don't believe that we lived up to the hype. I feel like Ohio State kind of be beating themselves sometimes, especially in these big games. You can't go on the road, turn the ball over. You can't go on the road, leading the game in penalties. Um, you can't go on the road just making mental mistakes. Like, uh, definitely mental toughness wasn't there, and it's kind of surprising because we heard like if you fumble, there was consequences to that. If you got a false start penalty or something, there was consequences to that. Like this team should be a lot more disciplined than what it is, especially on the road. And they said they were practicing crowd noise, all of that. And G. Scott also got a penalty, false start penalty. What are you doing? All you have to do is look at the ball. That's it. Anybody who knows you play away and you playing in a loud environment, you look at the ball. You're not listening to anything. You're looking at the ball. The ball don't move. You don't move. So,
Totally right. Totally right. I don't know what else to say about it. Unless anybody else has anything in the chat they want to talk about. I mean, I see the stuff about the DNs. We talked about the DNs a little bit. I mean, it sucks going into a bye after a loss like this. I mean, and you got your Duck fans. Congrats, Duck fans. I mean, I don't really know other than just talking about like moving forward. Like, is Ohio State going to be outside the top 5 here? I don't think they should. Like, Georgia lost to Alabama, and they looked worse than Ohio State did, and they stayed in the top 5. And Tennessee, I don't remember what happened in the end of that game, but they looked
here's the thing,
awful
bro.
against Florida. Like, I mean, if it's me, I'm keeping Ohio State at 3 or 4 because I'm not seeing anybody that look better than them.
I mean, to be honest, I think that you're taking the right approach. But how many people are ready to say, oh, this Ohio State team is fraud and all of this stuff, right? I mean, for them to make the mistakes that they made and still keep it a close game and still keep it down to the wire, I mean, says a lot about a team. So, I mean, they could have gave up earlier. They could have sold and let them go ahead and score a touchdown instead of holding them to a field goal, right? They didn't do that. They kept fighting back. So, I think that they shouldn't drop out of the top 5, but you know how the hate is for Ohio State. You know how the hate is for the Big Ten. And it is what it is. I think they're going to find a way to drop us out. You're going to have Oregon sitting up there. I think they might have a case for number 1. Texas still won their game, or they could stay number 1. Oregon go to 2. Penn State at
Texas
3.
I think Texas probably stays number 1 because they blew out.
Yeah,
Completely overrated Oklahoma team. That Oklahoma team sucks. Like,
yeah,
they are awful, but they're ranked 18, and so they're gonna say, "Oh, top 20 win for Texas," and it's like, no, they're terrible. Don't get it twisted, but because they blew them out, so it'll probably be Texas at 1, Oregon at 2. Even though Penn State barely beat USC, you'll probably see them move up to 3, and then you'll probably see Ohio State 4 or 5 with, I guess, Georgia. I mean, I don't remember. Did Tennessee win or lose?
These people that will Ryan Day get fired. No, I don't want Ryan Day to get fired. I don't think that that's the issue, man. I mean, I do think that I don't understand why people are doing that. I think the issue, like Ryan Day's only issue right now, I think is his evaluation on picking quarterbacks. And I had a take on that. A lot of people did not like my take on that and disagree with it. But I think that if you actually go through like Ryan Day being content with the guy who was Garrett Wilson's quarterback, right? He was content with that guy. And I think also when Ryan Day was our quarterbacks coach, when Justin Fields was committed to Penn State, like, why did we never ever go after, Fields? So, I mean, one thing I know, Quincy Avery was the quarterback coach for Dwayne Haskins. There was people in the camp that fought for Justin Fields. There was a heavy camp and players and current recruits that said that they wanted to play with CJ Stroud, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But before that happened and everybody was pushing the CJ Stroud, we were content with Jack Miller.
Right.
So, and then obviously, you know, Kyle McCord, which he's playing good at Syracuse, don't have as much pressure on him, you know, but my whole thing was like getting a quarterback that can push the ball down the field and force a defense and stress them in all aspects. And that's just one thing that Oregon did not have to worry about. They were able to play back, keep everything in front of them. They didn't really have to worry about Will Howard taking the shots and stuff that Dylan Gabriel did.
Yeah, and that's kind of why I was talking about the top 25 afterward thing with, like, please understand, people, like, this Ohio State team is still going to be top 5, top 6 at the very least. Like, this is not Ohio State losing to Vandy. This is not, like, I get it, man. Like, dude, I'm hurting too. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to, like, push flowers and rainbows here or anything like that. But, like, I just think there are so many ramifications to firing your head coach that would just completely dismantle so many things. And again, let's not get it twisted. This is a good Oregon team. Like, this is not a, you know, full of 6-year seniors team up north team that was cheating and stuff like that. Like let's be honest about it. Like, this is a good Oregon team, and you had to go across the country, right? And you had to see this week, and I know James Franklin's going to James Franklin, but you just saw earlier in the day Penn State go to USC. The travel stuff is real, people. Like, the travel stuff is a hard thing. I'm never going to blame it and say we lost because of that, but it is a hard thing. So I think you see Ohio State play against Oregon in a Big Ten championship game. Like I said, I have no problem picking Ohio State to win that game. Okay. And I mean, I'm not saying you're crazy if you want Ryan Day fired. I don't think you're looking
I'm gonna call you
at
crazy.
The big picture.
I'm gonna call you crazy because here's the thing, JR, like, and you might as well call them crazy because when you're speaking of the big picture, think about all the recruits that you could lose out of your class. Think about all the players that can now hit the portal. Who's going to stay? Who's going to stay?
Not many.
We've already had teams poaching our players, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, and here's the thing. Who are you going to get as a coach? You're going to go get, I mean, I like Luke Fickell, but I don't think that he's still ready right now.
You don't want Luke
What
Fickell.
You going to do? Go get Marcus Freeman? Why? So you can lose to Marshall in these G5 schools? Like, he's not ready. So my whole thing is who you going to get. Everybody keeps talking about, go get Mike Vrabel. He don't want to coach college. Could you imagine a kid going up to Mike Vrabel and saying, yeah, man, I want $1 million. I want $1 million. Do you know what Mike Vrabel going to do to that kid?
You're going to get somebody who hasn't had head coaching experience. Like, look at Oklahoma right now with Brent Venables. He's literally has no idea what he's doing with that program. They get the SEC hype because, you know, the SEC bias and stuff like that. That program is bad right now, guys. That is not a good program. You look at, you look up north and see what's going on with Sherrone Moore. He has no idea what he's doing. They're talking about switching their quarterback to linebacker right now. Like, he has no idea what he's doing. I get it. It's frustrating. I get you want better. I want better too. But plain and simple of it all, like, I don't know if you see better that will realistically come to Ohio State. Danny Lanning turned down Alabama for him to stay at Oregon. I don't think he's going to come to Ohio State instead of Oregon. Like, they hired Kalen DeBoer, like, at Alabama, and he's struggling, losing to Vandy. So, like, almost losing to South Carolina. So, like, I get it. I'm frustrated too. But you look at the big picture, I just don't see a better option.
Everybody, like, but that's the thing, man. Everybody's they want now, man. And I don't think people understand how hard it is to win a national championship. I don't think that people understand how hard it
or even to go undefeated. Like, you just knew this is not the Big Ten of old. Like, this is not Big Ten West. Like, Oregon's the number 3 team in the nation, possibly number 2, number 1 now. Like,
facts. And I don't think that people understand, like, look at the future. Like, I sit here and I'm like, man, I don't want Ryan Day fired. Why? Because I think that next year we're going to have a quarterback, whoever goes out there, that can stress a defense. And can you imagine what a Chip Kelly offense looks when he doesn't have to worry about the deep ball being underthrown and hitting guys in stride and stuff like that. Like, that opens up your offense. It puts stress on defense. It makes them have to worry about different things, bruh. But this team, here's the thing. They got to fight with some hunger. Now you go back to the drawing board. This is going to be a long flight to Columbus. What is your team made of? You hear Kirby Smart talking to his guys, and you heard him. He said, "I'm proud of you." But right now, this was after they lost to Bama. He said, "But right now, you got a choice. You got a choice to be better, or you can just go ahead and just give up. And what's the point in giving up, bro? Get better."
I know, honestly, like, it can sound super cliche, and I get that. Like, nobody's gonna like what we're saying right now because they're all emotional and upset, and I get that. Don't get me wrong. Like, it's tough to not see the big picture when you just went through a heartbreaker like this. But at the end of the day, like, losing at some point during the season can be good for your team. There's not a whole lot of undefeated national champions out there. I mean, it doesn't happen all that often. Like, LSU, they were on a different level. I get it. We wish we were LSU from 2019, but we don't have Joe Burrow. We don't have, a Heisman caliber quarterback throwing for 5,000 yards and, all this stuff. And there wasn't one like that in the portal. Like, there wasn't one like that to go get. And you can say Kyle McCord would have been better. I think you're crazy if you say Kyle McCord would have been better than Will Howard. I just think you're absolutely nuts. I think you don't understand how football is played if you say that. But at the end of the day, like, it just there's nowhere else really to go from here. You got Ryan Day, and at this point, you just gotta hope that he can get these guys together and say, "Look, all of you guys came back to win a national championship, and you just lost out there." So, Denzel Burke, figure it out, or Jermaine Matthews is gonna play in front of you.
And Donovan Jackson definitely needs to be better, man. I think that he should be better. You came back to be better. You came back to help lead this offensive line. You should be out there setting the example, not out there getting pushed back, man, and not helping the running backs out and things like that, bro. Donovan Jackson, he kind of showed me flashes of last year, Donovan Jackson, and I didn't like that.
Yeah, we're getting to the part of the show in the chat where everybody just says everything's terrible, and I'm not gonna name you by name and tell you don't know what you're talking about. But yeah, I don't think you know what you're talking about if you're saying the defense sucks and they should win every single game this year. I just don't.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, I can't.
You see Alabama's defense. You see Georgia's defense. Like,
yeah. I mean, to be honest, bro, like, I mean, if you wanna say anything about like what Nose is, like Nose could. Here's the thing: is we could put this on Nose, but y'all gotta remember, like, Ryan Day is the head coach, and also he stepped back to be the CEO, right? So why wasn't it Ryan Day who could go out there and say, "Hey, man, Burke is just not his day right now. Let me go out there and put out Maine," right?
Yeah.
Or why not OG Watt do that? Right. So I mean, and you hear them talk about, "Hey, I trust the position coaches in this." That's the culture that Ryan Day has built, is trusting the position coaches in this, right? Wow. So I mean, our position coach could have put out Maine out there. I'm not going to blame that on Nose. I think Nose made the right calls, especially on each play where Denzel Burke got beat. The right call was made. Denzel Burke just got beat. That's not on Nose.
Yeah. I totally agree. And that's another thing, like, we have to realize is that, like, if you're going to say, like, "Oh, we spent $20 million on this roster," like, I mean, other teams spend a bunch of money on theirs too. And if you actually look at what's actually going on with the NIL, like, that number is so inflated and so inaccurately posted in so many different ways. And of course, the rival fans are gonna have fun with it and stuff like that. But like, they don't know what they're talking about.
The starters are not getting 20 million. I can promise you that. The starters and everything, it doesn't equal up to 20 million, bro. everybody on the roster is getting paid. So divvy that out between 85 guys. Divvy
And
that 20 million.
It's not all coming from the foundation either. Like
Yeah.
$20 million from the foundation, it's not all coming from them. Like,
no. You
I
see
mean, I could go
Jeremiah,
through and like tell you each and every, not each and every
American
player how much
Eagle.
they're making,
Yeah.
but I could tell you like, hey, this, players make money from this area and this area and this area. Like, it doesn't just happen with the foundation being like, here you go, here's your $1 million. Like,
Yeah, they got
it's
the
a lot more
Chipotle
complicated.
commercials, the American Eagle stuff, the chili stuff, the restaurant, the Outback Steakhouse stuff. Like, come on, like people don't know what they're talking about. But the thing is, man, if you want to say the $20 million roster or whatever, I'll tell you this: the greatest coach of all time averaged the #1 recruiting class and did not win a national title every single year. Actually, he didn't even go back to back.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, it takes more than that, bruh. And like I tried to tell people, everybody wanted to jump on the Natty and Bus train. I tried to just push back, bro. Don't put that on Ryan Day. Don't put that on this team. I think that we should just be able to enjoy this season, man. And, get to the playoffs and win the Big Ten.
Yep. And you
That's
are
still in front of us.
Yeah, you are 1 second. You are, whatever seconds from, what should have been the play clock at 10 instead of 6 away from Will Howard getting down and it being a 40-yard field goal that Jaden Fielding has made multiple times and probably would have made in that situation. And we're probably having a whole lot different post-game show if Will Howard gets down 1 second sooner or if they let him call that timeout, which he should have been calling, they should have given to him.
That play clock should have been at 10, bro.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And I get it. Like it's entirely frustrating because you look back at Georgia and you say like, oh, well, why didn't they run it to get closer? Why didn't they do this? Like, I get it. It's time and time again. But I guess my message is like Ohio State will succeed at some point under Ryan Day. It will happen at some point as long as the standard remains the standard, which is get the best recruiting class you can and get the best position coaches you can and get the best coordinators that you can, which if you ask me, that's what you got right now. Could you have a better defensive coordinator? I guess maybe, but that's not going to stop him from Denzel Burke being flat-footed.
Jeff Hafley. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I don't know. Jeff Hafley is known for playing the young guys. Hey, so he's known for getting the right DBs in the right situations. Also, that's the type of defense that Ryan Day likes is that one high. So, I mean, hey, you got Jeff Hafley right in your back pocket.
We'll see. We'll see if it happens. See how the Green Bay Packers turns out for him. So,
yeah.
All right, Mike, you got anything else you want to bring up before we get out of here?
No, man, I want to tell all Buckeye fans, man, make sure you keep your head up, Brad. We could be out here losing to teams like Vandy, losing out here to Northwesterns. We lost a 1-point game, man. It was a hard-fought game. We ain't go out here look like we was getting blown out or anything. And make sure you subscribe to this channel. And if you want to follow me, you can follow me at 216_wildboy. Probably catch me and my guy Ron on the Best Damn Media platform where where me and Ron will be talking about this game on the Buckeye BS. And you can also catch me on Wednesdays on the same platform on the Fans Edge talking all college football. JR, where can they find you?
Yeah, man, find me JR's Rankings and JR's_rankings on Twitter. You find me over there, and you know what? You disagree with me? You think that I'm off? You think my takes are off? Good news. There is a new call-in show for the Ohio State channel starting on Monday night at 9 o'clock. Me and a guy named Zach Guggenheim, who does the Big Ten Huddle with me, we're going to be coming on here, and we're going to be talking about Ohio State and everything that goes on. So it's going to be a little bit of a tough first call-in show being after a loss like this. But you know what? I mean, that's when emotions are the highest, I think, and that's when people need to get out of their system the best. So come on over 9 o'clock on Monday nights, starting this Monday. You can come talk to me and Zach. You can debate us. You can tell us we're wrong. Whatever you want to do, come talk to us about it, and we'd love to hear your thoughts. So with that, that's all I got. Mike, appreciate you being here. Everybody else, appreciate you watching. Hold your heads up. don't get too invested with like the trolls on Twitter. Like it happens, and that's exactly what they are. They're just trolls. They're just trying to come at you, just trying to get an emotional reaction. Your team is good. This is still a top 5 team in the nation. This is still a team that has national title hopes. There is no reason to think the season is over. Everything's doom and gloom. You know, we lost to a top 3 team on the road. It happens. Georgia did, and Georgia still has title hopes. Georgia just beat Mississippi State by 10 today. If they still have title hopes, it could be worse.
It could be worse. Yep.
All right. We'll see you next time, everybody.
All right,
Chris hit us up. He said, why do people just assume Ohio State can win a national title every year? My answer is because they can win a national title every year.